In what can only be described as a stunning reversal, the California mansion that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle bought for privacy is now the subject of a government investigation that threatens their entire media empire. A top local official has issued a final warning, with the couple now facing accusations of running an illegal film studio from their home, which could lead to crippling fines and a direct threat to their multi-million-dollar Netflix deal. To understand the severity of this official action, we first need to look at the key figure behind it: Santa Barbara County Supervisor Doss Williams. He is not a typical bureaucrat. Williams is a long-serving, deeply respected local leader known throughout Santa Barbara County for his steadfast, no-nonsense approach to governance. Point one, he is famously community-focused, and sources close to his office describe him as completely unimpressed by celebrity status or royal titles. His priority is the consistent application of county law for all residents. This is a critical point. Harry and Meghan are now facing a form of authority that is immune to the pressures of public relations and the allure of fame. This is not the royal court or a Hollywood boardroom. This is local government, and Doss Williams is its embodiment. This formal investigation did not happen overnight. According to county records and local reports, Williams' office has been fielding complaints regarding the Sussex property for many months. These are not minor grievances. They reportedly include allegations of unpermitted landscaping that has altered the local terrain, consistent noise from construction projects, and even the controversial use of drones for security or filming, which has allegedly infringed on the privacy of their high-profile neighbors. For months, these issues were reportedly handled with informal notices and reminders, a standard procedure for the county. However, the decision by Williams to now formally flag the property signals that these informal warnings were, in the county's view, ignored. A source within the county planning department stated, "They were informed, they were reminded, and now they have been flagged. The period of polite notification is over." Doss Williams' public statement, "I will not warn you again," is being seen as a clear and unambiguous red line. For a couple who left the UK to escape scrutiny and control, they have now found themselves facing a new, and perhaps more unyielding, form of oversight. The most damaging element of this developing story, and the one gaining the most traction in public discourse, is the powerful allegation of hypocrisy. This single issue has triggered what many commentators are calling a massive credibility collapse for the couple, striking at the two central pillars of their post-royal brand: their quest for privacy and their commitment to sustainable, ethical living. Let's first deconstruct the privacy paradox, which has become a focal point of public criticism. The entire premise of their move to America, as stated by them directly in their Oprah interview and Netflix docuseries, was to escape an oppressive and intrusive media environment to live a private life. However, the allegations now under investigation suggest a starkly different reality. The charge is that their private family home has been functioning as an undeclared, unpermitted commercial production facility. The evidence, much of it in the public domain, is substantial. Key scenes for their multi-part Netflix series were filmed on the property. The lush backdrop for their landmark Oprah interview was their own backyard. Meghan's 40 by 40 initiative video, featuring Melissa McCarthy, was shot from her home office. There have been numerous reports of high-profile photo shoots and other content creation for their Archwell Productions company taking place behind their gates. The critical issue here is legality. Residential, one zoning, which governs their property, is the bedrock of communities like Montecito. It is a social contract among residents, ensuring that a home remains a home, not a place of business. It prevents a neighbor from suddenly opening a factory, a nightclub, or, in this case, a fully operational film studio. The questions being asked by county investigators are direct and pointed. Did the Duke and Duchess ever apply for the necessary commercial filming permits, which are standard procedure in the industry? Did they register their home as a place of business, which would have significant tax and regulatory implications? Or did they bypass these legal requirements, treating their private estate as a personal soundstage to generate profit, while simultaneously demanding the privacy protections afforded to a purely residential property? An exasperated neighbor, speaking to a local news outlet, crystallized the sentiment. You cannot weaponize a demand for privacy against the world and then run a business enterprise that disrupts the very privacy of the people living next to you. It's a flagrant contradiction. This has led to the widespread and damaging conclusion that, for the Sussexes, privacy was never the true objective, but rather a convenient shield to be used while pursuing profit. The second hypocrisy charge is just as potent. Harry and Meghan have publicly and repeatedly positioned themselves as advocates for climate action and sustainability. Point two, they have promoted their Montecito home as a model of ethical luxury, a place where they are in touch with nature. Yet, the investigation is now digging into their own practices at home. Investigators are reportedly examining their water consumption records. This is critically important because it occurred during a historic megadrought in California, a period when the state had imposed severe, mandatory water restrictions. Governor Gavin Newsom had pleaded with residents to cut water use by at least 15%, to let lawns go brown, and to do everything possible to conserve the state's dwindling resources. In a culture where water-shaming neighbors for overwatering is common, any evidence that the Sussexes' sprawling, manicured lawns and gardens were being maintained with excessive water would be a public relations disaster. It would represent the ultimate do as I say, not as I do moment. Furthermore, the unpermitted landscaping charge goes beyond simple aesthetics. In the fire-prone, ecologically sensitive hills of Montecito, altering the landscape is a serious matter. Point three, it can involve grading land without a geological survey, which can increase the risk of landslides. It can mean removing protected native species like oak trees. It can involve installing irrigation systems that do not comply with the latest water-saving regulations. For a couple who speaks of living in harmony with nature, the allegation that they may have skirted the very environmental regulations designed to protect that nature is profoundly damaging. It presents yet another staggering act of hypocrisy that the public, as one commentator noted, will find very hard to ignore. This leads directly to the potential consequences, which are tangible and extend far beyond public embarrassment. This has evolved into a potential legal and financial catastrophe. First, the financial penalties. Santa Barbara County's enforcement codes are robust. Fines for zoning violations are often levied on a per-day, per-violation basis. A conservative estimate, based on county fee schedules, could see fines starting at several $100s per day. If they are cited for multiple distinct violations, for example, commercial use, unpermitted construction, and environmental noncompliance, those fines are cumulative. It is not difficult to imagine a scenario where fines could reach thousands of dollars per day, quickly escalating into tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars over time. This would be in addition to the substantial legal fees required to fight the county, with top-tier land use attorneys in the area charging upwards of $1,000 per hour. This financial pressure comes at an acutely vulnerable moment for the Sussex brand. Their nine-figure Spotify deal collapsed and was not renewed. Their Netflix content, while generating initial headlines, has not produced a consistent stream of acclaimed hits. Point four, Meghan's new lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, has had a slow and somewhat rocky launch. Against this backdrop of professional uncertainty, the prospect of a costly, open-ended legal battle with the government is a significant threat to their goal of financial independence. Beyond the immediate costs, the operational consequences could be even more severe. If the county issues a formal cease and desist order, it would legally prohibit them from conducting any further commercial filming or large-scale events at their home. This could place them in direct breach of their contract with Netflix, which presumably requires them to produce a certain volume of content. It would cripple their ability to use their own home, their most controlled and private environment, as the backdrop for their media empire. Furthermore, a property that is flagged for violations can become tainted in the eyes of the planning department, making it significantly more difficult to obtain permits for any future work, even legitimate and necessary renovations. Finally, there are the more extreme, though less likely, legal possibilities. If violations are proven to be intentional and flagrantly ignored over a long period, the county possesses the legal power to place liens on the property, making it impossible to sell or refinance. In the most extreme cases of noncompliance, legal proceedings could be initiated to revoke certain property usage rights altogether. While a formal eviction is highly improbable in a case like this, the very existence of these legal tools demonstrates the significant power the county wields. The investigation could also expand, triggering reviews of their other business entities and foundations to search for a pattern of noncompliance. Perhaps the most revealing aspect of this entire crisis, however, is the Sussexes' reaction, or lack thereof. The complete and utter silence from their famously vocal camp is, in the words of one PR expert, deafening. This is a couple with a highly aggressive, rapid response communication strategy. They have issued statements, corrections, and rebuttals on matters far more trivial than this. Their silence on a growing scandal in their own backyard is therefore not being interpreted as a sign of confidence, but as a sign of genuine vulnerability. The prevailing analysis is that they are in panic mode, attempting to negotiate a solution behind the scenes, away from the glare of the media. They're likely trying to ascertain the strength of the county's case and formulate a strategy. But their options are limited and fraught with peril. They could publicly deny the allegations, a risky move if the county possesses photographic or documentary evidence. They could apologize and immediately comply, which would be a direct admission of guilt and would fuel the hypocrisy narrative. Or they could fight the county in court, a long, expensive, and very public process they are unlikely to win. Their current silence suggests they are cornered. The fundamental reality setting in for Harry and Meghan is that they are no longer in a world of malleable protocol and negotiated narratives. They cannot spin their way out of municipal code. The rules of zoning enforcement are not like the unwritten rules of the royal family. Doss Williams is not a palace courtier who can be persuaded or a media executive who can be charmed. He is a public official tasked with enforcing codified law. This represents a profound power shift for the couple. Their royal status grants them no special privileges here. If anything, it makes them a more high-profile target for enforcement, a symbol that the law applies equally to everyone. This situation is being framed globally as a dramatic fall from grace. The contrast is stark, from the hallowed halls of Windsor Castle to the bureaucratic offices of the Santa Barbara County Planning Department. The British press, in particular, is covering the story with a palpable sense of schadenfreude, calling it poetic justice for a couple they feel shirk their duties at home. The trending hashtags, hashtag Sussex Scandal, hashtag Montecito Mess, hashtag Zoning Royals, are not just social media noise. They're a real-time barometer of a shifting public perception, one that is becoming increasingly critical and less sympathetic. In conclusion, the investigation into the Sussexes' Montecito estate has transcended a local zoning dispute. It has become a critical stress test of their entire post-royal identity. The narrative they sold to the world, a story of escaping the cage to find a quiet, private, and meaningful life, is now being questioned at its very core. The public is now asking the central question this scandal has unearthed. Was privacy ever the real goal, or was it a convenient and profitable brand strategy? The dream home in Montecito, once the ultimate symbol of their freedom, is now threatening to become the stage for a public relations nightmare, with the potential to cause irreparable damage to the very brand they crossed an ocean to build.